Greetings, everybody. This is Courtni StarHeart, and I'm here today in the church sanctuary on Long Island. I'm here to talk to you today about a really sad situation that has come up, and unfortunately, it caused the death of a young man at a retreat in SoulQuest. It's been years since this young man died, and his name was Brandon. He officially died of hyponatremia. So, I'd like to talk to you today about ayahuasca retreat safety and what you can do to guarantee your safety. So, the first thing to know is that when you're going to a large commercial retreat, you're going to be in a room with a large group of people, and you may or may not get the kind of personalized attention that it requires in order to guarantee your safety. So, thing number one is that when you're going to these commercial retreats, you're going to be packed into a room with a bunch of people. Oftentimes, people are jam packed in as tight as they possibly can be because retreats are looking to make money. Okay, so they're stuffing as many people into a room as they possibly can. And they're not going to be able to give you the type of medical, spiritual, or personalized attention that it really requires to guarantee your success and your safety. Number one, commercial retreats. Hi, it's a really important conversation. So that's number one. My friend Ayahuasca Car is doing an amazing job of doing exactly what I'm talking about. So she knows that this is true. The next thing, number two, training and lineage are so important. Look, you're not going to go and get a real ayahuasca training over a weekend in Costa Rica for X amount of money or some kind of certification online. That's absolute madness, but it is actually even a step better than what was done at SoulQuest, where there's absolutely no training involved. So Chris has no ayahuasca training or lineage to speak of, no practicum with a master, and apparently wasn't even informed about stuff that a high school gym teacher would know. So hyponatremia is actually a depletion of sodium and or minerals. Okay, what happens is your cells begin to swell. This happens to athletes a lot who've taken a lot of water, and it happens pretty commonly when using the wet method with Kambo. So let me explain what that is. There's a dry method and a wet method. Now, the dry method, which we use, is often referred to as the compassionate method. That means that we don't force people to drink a bunch of water once we've placed the medicine on the puntitas. Kambo is administered to these little burn marks where we peel off the top layer of skin and we apply this frog toxin. It goes directly into the bloodstream, and what happens is the wet method, the practitioner will force the participants to drink liters of water, at which point they will start throwing up stomach bile and, of course, liquids, which may actually lead to the depletion of sodium. All right? So, what happened to Brandon is that he didn't get the proper medical attention. There have been times after Sweat Lodge when we've actually had to get people an IV and take them to the local hospital because they were depleted on minerals and sodium because they drank too much water too quickly. So, as medicine people, we're familiar with the situation from years of practical experience. Okay, so no training, no lineage. I'd like you to think of ayahuasca especially, and probably all psychedelics, as something along the lines of neurosurgery. If you were going to get brain surgery done, would you go to the local butcher to request that they perform surgery on you? Would you ask the trash man to do it? Would you even ask someone with a PhD, say, in physics to do it? You wouldn't. So it's not about how smart or how much they know about other things. It's whether or not that person is trained in that specific area of expertise. And ayahuasca is, in fact, a lifelong commitment. It's not something that we pick up gently. It is a huge commitment. Yeah, the recent thing is that a jury yesterday came out with a $15 million verdict against Chris Young at SoulQuest in a wrongful death suit. There are no criminal charges so far, but $15 million in civil litigation was awarded due to the wrongful death of Brandon, who I believe died about 9 years ago, and it's been 6 years of miserable litigation on the part of his parents trying to figure out what actually happened. So There was no training on the part of the practitioners. There was no health care given to this individual. He went home, he was hospitalized, and later died. So, completely avoidable had anyone actually had the proper training, had there been an EMT, had there been any concern for his well being. In fact, two people who worked at that retreat pled the fifth and refused to testify in the hearings. It's unbelievable that those practitioners, so to speak, the staff from SoulQuest, wouldn't testify. In other words, when you plead the fifth in a criminal case, it's usually because you're afraid that you're going to wrongfully actually incriminate yourself. So in this civil case, they're not allowed to plead the fifth, and someone's going to go after them. They'll be forced to testify at a certain point, most likely. And we'll find out more of what happened at the moment in time because no one's talking about what happened to Brandon. And in fact, people from SoulQuest trash talked Brandon and said that he lied to them about a pre existing physical condition that he really didn't have. They implied that he actually had epilepsy when in fact he had a seizure because of the hyponatremia, the depletion of sodium. If they had gotten him to a hospital, he would still be alive today. Rather, instead, they lied, they covered it up to cover their own butts, and then they sent him home to die in his parents' arms. What a horrible situation to then go ahead and lie about further to try to cover it up. The third thing that you want to know when you're looking for a retreat, you should make sure that there are people who truly have your best interests at heart. You want to research these practitioners as if they were going to be a brain surgeon, because they are, and your life truly is in their hands. The environment that you're in, the methods that they use, their lineage and their traditions are going to weigh heavily into this situation for you. So, dry method versus wet method is a big thing with Kambo, okay? The dry method means that we hydrate properly all week long. We take additional minerals to make sure that we don't get hyponatremia, and we don't drink a bunch of water while we're taking the medicine. The dry method or the compassionate method is what we use because it provokes a lot less suffering. No one's going to blow out their esophagus because they're projectile vomiting, okay? Because that's another way that you can die with Kambo, is through actually tearing your esophagus and bleeding out internally. And the dry method causes a lot less suffering, okay? So our methods here are time tested. My lineage goes back into the mists of time. Patricio Dominguez is my mentor and is not only a lineage carrying medicine man from his tradition, uninterrupted Pueblo tradition, going back in the mists of time, he also went and studied in the jungle with other masters. So he's worked with hundreds of shamans, taitas, and other people from the Amazon, brought that knowledge back to Albuquerque, brought some of those experts to Albuquerque, such as Taita Paulinho, who poured ayahuasca in our kiva for many years. So we have this rich heritage, and I'm not just bragging about how great my teacher is. I'm letting you know that you should be looking for someone who's legitimately at least as qualified, okay? So stay safe, people. I would recommend the dry method of Kambo. I understand that lots of tribes do the wet method, and drinking water is going to provoke a lot of vomiting and a lot of suffering and may lead to hyponatremia, which is exactly why Brandon died after he went to SoulQuest. If you're looking for ayahuasca, make sure that you're going to be in a group of small and also qualified individuals, okay? You don't want to be in a cattle call. You don't want to be with a bunch of newbies. You want to have one or two new people in each group and other people who are like anchors, who are experienced and who can bring in a lot of light and hold a good energy. You also want to be with someone who's deeply invested in you on a personal level and who has a background in being able to truly do integration and preparation. For example, integration isn't so much about talking as it is about doing. We do physical integration stuff. We do artwork, we do music therapy, we do walks, and we actually have a breathwork system that we give to people in a digital toolkit that they practice before, during, and after retreat. So, integration, lineage, small groups, dry method of Kambo, and someone who's truly interested and has your best interests at heart. Do no harm.